Hello and welcome to CNET's 2023 general election coverage. I'm Ann Danahy, and today we're profiling the race for College Township Council. Joining us now is Rich Francke, a Republican candidate on the ballot. Hi, Rich. Thanks for coming in to talk with us.
Hi, Ann. Thanks for the opportunity.
Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and why you're running for re-election?
Good question. Some ask that a lot, but no, I still think I have some service to give to my community. In years past, I've referenced that I'm a retired Army National Guard guy, and when I got out of that, it left a big service hole, and so I got involved in local government, and this is the end of my 10th year, so.
You're still here.
I'm still here, still standing.
Are there any particular issues you think will be priorities for the incoming board?
It's always tied to some inherent things: responsible growth, sustainability, quality of life, all those type things, and everything builds off of that. One of the things that I've had the fortune of being involved with was working on establishing College Township's first mission, vision, and goals statements and everything. And that's really helped, I know, me personally focus my thinking in whatever comes before us to put into that framework.
And on the topic of growth and development, Center County, specifically in Center Region and the Bellefonte area, is seeing a lot of development and increase in population. What's your kind of philosophy or your approach in the town for the township when it comes to growth and development and managing that?
That's the challenge. Different perspectives from different folks. My personal is nothing stays the same. It either gets better or worse, and my choice is to try to make it better. And we do that by listening, a lot of listening, and we're not shy to reach out and see if somebody has a good idea of how to do something, use that as a baseline, but then we have to tweak it to what fits College Township. There is no one solution that fits every municipality in the Center Region at this point, so we work hard at that.
Are there any examples of when you've been able to do that, or projects that you think have been good examples for planning and development?
Yes, actually, at our last meeting, we were just talking about one. College Township was one of the first municipalities with an inclusionary and workforce housing type ordinance, and in particular, it has a component that most of the other municipalities don't have with regard to rental housing, not just owner-occupied purchase type housing, and we've had very good success with that. We just saw large development on the Hilltop tract that's in our Gateway Commercial, and there was a large portion of that had to comply with that ordinance, and that's brought a fair amount of workforce housing online for our residents.
And for people not familiar with that, does that mean that a portion of the housing has to be affordable within a certain income
That's correct.
frame? Is that the idea?
Yes, that's correct. It's based on the size of the development. It dictates how much of it has to be and everything like that. The thing we were discussing at that time is opening the thresholds for that, because to allow more people to benefit from that.
What's your approach when it comes to the idea of open space, too? Because that's probably on the flip side of growth and development. Do you think that the township should have a greater role in maintaining open space, or no, that's something that's really up to developers and property owners?
I think it's a lot of people. We do it through our ordinances requiring open space or contribution towards other open space. We're, as a member of the Center Region Council of Governments, we work with for regional parks and situations for that. We look across borders and say, where does this make sense and everything. Open space contributes to the quality of life in our region and stuff. But the one thing that unfortunately a lot of folks forget is it's great to have the open space, but it takes dollars to maintain even open space. And so if we want these open space, if we want the parks, things like that, we have to also be willing to maintain them. And sometimes that gets lost.
The costs that go with that, too.
Yes, absolutely.
The township's been looking at zoning and planning in the area known as the Dale Summit, and possibilities include allowing for workforce housing, which we were just talking a little bit about. What would you like to see in that area?
Well, that's falling under, we're doing some review of a thing called form-based code, which is much more flexible, and it's more, allows some constructive tweaking of the hardcore that we're used to seeing in most ordinances and everything. So I think we're seeking the best neighborhoods that we can have, and that can take on various faces. Can have open space, can have retail, can have service, live where you work, those type things, pedestrian friendly, bike friendly, things like that. And then they have to have those nasty cars. So where do they best fit in that? And I think the form-based code gives us a lot more opportunities to make informed decisions.
Do you see the township using that in other areas in the future too, or is it?
We're hoping. This is kind of a pilot. It's a very unique area, and so it fit really well into an analysis to see if this could be something that potentially could be township-wide. We think it's going to end up being some type of hybrid of it, of the regular hardcore ordinance-based, the zoning district-based, all that, with some flexibility in that kind of things. But it's so form-based code is completely new to the center region, and obviously to us. And so we want to do it smartly
And see how it works, right? That makes sense. So College Township is a member of the Center Region Council of Governments, which provides different services and planning to the member municipalities. Do you have any thoughts on that? Do you support the COG? Are there any changes or new areas you'd like to see it go into in the future?
That's a great question. Some of it boils back to that C word consolidation that gets thrown out on occasion. I think we're doing it. It definitely has a purpose. There are things that we are doing today together as a region that would cost us so much more to do individually and everything. I say that not as just the last year's chair of the Center Region Council of Governments or the current chair of the Finance Committee, but that's really what I see. Is that there's opportunities for us to do things better and more cost effectively for our residents regionally. Where do we go from there? There's several of them. They tend to get a little temperamental. No, that's my turf and everything like that. So where it makes sense, that's where we should do it and where we can reach agreement. So far, that's been refuse, planning, code, most of fire. And parks in our library. Our library is a shining example across the state and even the country.
Are there any examples or areas where you think it would be worth taking a look at, to you personally?
There's always an opportunity to work together, but we need to make sure that we all know as members that we have an agreement in those things. I think police is a potential opportunity, but each police force there's a reason they exist. Fire, we're mostly there. Bollesburg is a great partner with it, but I could definitely see that at some point that goes across that boundary as well. Public Works is a little tough. It's very difficult and very municipal centric and everything. So it'll be interesting to see what could come out of it.
One COG initiative has been the Climate Action and Adaptation Plan, which was adopted and all the member municipalities signed off on that and agreed to that. And that it has different goals, including reducing greenhouse gas emissions. What are your thoughts on that? Do you support that? Are there ways you think the township can support and participate in it?
Well, we are supporting and we are participating in it. Beyond what's being done at the COG it falls on each municipality. One of the great initiatives of that there is the solar power purchase agreement, which has been dragging on a little bit long, but with great goals overall, not just from a financial standpoint, but from a sustainability standpoint, climate wise and control, because the grid is an unknown at times, and power plants, the source of power for plants As long as the sun's shining, we got a chance. So we're hopeful for that.
Are there any other areas where you think the township should look at doing things to promote sustainability or reducing greenhouse gas emissions?
Well, for sustainability, I look at that for two ways. There's financial sustainability as well as the climate and just culture sustainability. So, what makes us special, those kind of things we want to maintain and everything. There's always opportunities. We can look at we are looking at our public works equipment. We're looking at how we power our municipal parks, our public works facility, taking care of our people. We've had to adjust some things because of temperatures, moved earlier in the mornings and things like that. So there's just so much that is going to come over the next several years.
One issue that's been very controversial in College Township is the casino that's slated to go into the Nittany Mall, into where Macy's used to be, and that's right now it's tied up in a court battle. But it does under the state ordinances or the state law. Townships had the opportunity to say whether they were going to opt in or opt out of having a mini casino in their township, and College Township did not opt out, and so in the end, a casino wants to locate there. What are your thoughts on that? Do you think that was the best decision for the township to not opt out of having a mini casino?
Right. There's certainly a lot of opinions on that and everything. One of the points that we always make is College Township has always allowed gambling. You have to, under the municipal planning code, have a home for every use. So College Township, as long as it's had ordinances, has had a home for gambling, which was at the Nittany Mall. So we didn't change anything on that. The other part that really played a role in our thinking of this is that one of our neighboring municipalities did not opt out. And so there was a very strong potential that we would have had all the potential impacts with none of the potential opportunities to manage those impacts. And so from that standpoint, if it's come into this area, we'd like to be involved in making sure that it's done right. So that influenced a lot of our thinking as well.
How do you see the township addressing the residents' concerns if and when this casino does operate?
Well, two things is you be proactive. We've already taken a road trip to a sister Category 4 in Westmoreland County and looked at that. There's a couple more that have come online, and we're staying in touch with our peer communities for those and seeing what lessons they learned so that we have that going in. And then as it goes, things are going to come up. And the thing that College Township prides itself is stuff happens, we know how to deal with it. We don't ignore it. We don't put our head in the sand. We pound forward and try to find a solution. Sometimes they're not easy. Sometimes they're not quick. Sometimes they're not available. Which can happen with when there's state laws that say we can't do what we can and we can't do. So with those tools, we'll tackle it with the same vial that we tackle everything else.
Rich, we have less than a minute left. Is there anything else you'd like to say to voters?
The only thing I would say is thank you so much for the opportunity. In particular, I appreciate the trust that some of the voters of the Democratic Party saw in me to allow me to be a write-in on that side of the ticket. That means a lot to me because I do consider myself a pretty much center-of-the-road type person, and so I think I want to represent everyone, and so that helps in saying that. But I look forward to continuing to serve with the folks that I've served with for 10 plus years now, and then also some new faces that are entering in, and I hope to help them contribute the same as their predecessors have.
Rich Francke, thank you so much for coming in to talk with us.
And thank you so much, and have a good day.
We've been talking with Rich Francke, a Republican candidate in the race for College Township Council. All candidates on the ballot were invited to join us on CNET. I'm Ann Danahy. Thank you for watching, and please remember to vote in the election November 7th. Hello and welcome to CNET's 2023 general election coverage. I'm Ann Danahy, and today we're profiling the race for College Township Council. Joining us now is Susan Trainor, a Democratic candidate in the race for council. Hi, Susan. Thank you for coming in to talk with us.
Hi, Ann. Thank you for having me today.
Can you start by just telling us a little bit about yourself and
Sure.
why you're running for re-election?
Sure. I'm Susan Trainor, and I'm running. I'm running for a seat I was appointed to in January when Paul Takak won his election to the Pennsylvania Assembly. So I am running because I want to be part of making the decisions that we're making in our township over the next 4 to 5 years. I'm a nurse practitioner. I've lived in College Township actually twice. I've been here in the township since 2020, and I lived in the township in 2007 through 2012. And I've been a resident of the region since 1995. So I've seen a lot of change in our region. I've worked as a healthcare provider now for about 20 years in our system and 30 years in healthcare. So I'm very committed to my community. I've served in my role as a healthcare provider, and I see municipal government as a natural extension of the service work that I do in healthcare. And at this point in my career, I feel anxious to make change in a way that impacts the community, not just in terms of what we're dealing with today, but just like the work I do taking care of my patients with diabetes, change that occurs over the next 5, 10, 20 years. That's my goal.
Are there any particular issues or topics that you think are kind of at the top of the list?
Yeah. Right now, College Township is in the process of working on revitalizing the Dale Summit area. So that's our area, the township area by the Nittany Mall, by the former Corning building, almost out to Route 99. And we're engaged with a company, DPZ and they are municipal planners, and they're working with our township staff and council and residents to look at new ways to zone that region so that we can bring in multi-purpose types of zoning, so residential properties that are near commercial properties, making this more of a walkable community. So for me, as a diabetes nurse practitioner, I talk a lot with people about primary prevention, disease prevention. And quite often that's something like a lifestyle, be more active or eat healthier. So it's a little oversimplification of what I do. But more importantly, the built environment that we live in defines how easily we can make those lifestyle choices and changes. And I had never thought about that before, but it occurred to me as I was sitting in our 4-day charrette when the township invited everyone to come and give opinions and share with the designers who had come from Florida to work with the community. I was really excited by the possibility. I mean, this is clearly a place where my passion for health and prevention intersects with what I could possibly do for my township and my community. So I'm very excited by that work.
You mean making it hopefully a more walkable place,
Exactly.
a place that encourages
Exactly.
community and that type of
Yes,
thing?
yes, exactly. So our current zoning structure is something that defines different zoning areas by function. So residential is here, and commercial is here, and industrial is here. So what that might create is something, for example, where you might be adjacent to something. You might be living adjacent to a grocery store, but not close. So when I lived over by Walmart years ago in a condo with my young children, I would have loved to have walked to the grocery store at Walmart. I was close enough, I was adjacent, but I wasn't close enough to walk safely with my young children. So how do we do that? We do that by developing sidewalks and making things more walkable. So those are the kinds of things I see as potential in that region. Now, there's lots of work to do, lots of opinions, lots of different ways to approach it. But I think the township, the staff, the folks on council, the ABCs, our residents are committed to that kind of change.
And part of that project, if I understand correctly, is possibly looking at having workforce or more affordable
Yes.
housing in the mix.
Yes.
What are your thoughts on that? Do you want to see that included?
Absolutely. We've been looking at our workforce ordinance over the last few meetings, and the work on that ordinance, I believe, started in 2008. So there was a prescient council many, many years ago who looked into the future and saw that there would be a need. I've worked for the health system for years. And quite a few of the people who work at the health system have to live outside our community. They cannot afford to live where they work. And, I'd like to see us open up the potential for people to be able to live where they work. There's a deep commitment when you live and work in the same area. We have an ordinance now that there are requirements for workforce housing as part of development, depending on the density of the development. So that's already been in place thanks to that Prescient Council. And we're looking at that ordinance now.
And we've kind of been talking about this, but one of my questions is that the center region growth and development that it's seeing. So the center region is seeing population growth,
Yes.
and College Township certainly is seeing development. How would you describe your philosophy when it comes to growth and development?
I think growth and development in an area like this is inevitable. This is an attractive community. We have great work, employment opportunities at the university, at the health system. I'm talking just about the college, township area, but certainly in our county, we have tremendous opportunities for people to be able to live well here. The challenge is what attracted some of us here might change as we develop the region. So I think work like the Dale Summit revitalization is well thought out, it's intentional, it aligns with our township's mission, our vision, and I think that's what's important, is really looking at 5, 10, 15 years, not looking at what is the project in front of us right now and what are the things in this moment that we need to do to make this work happen. How does this fit into the bigger picture that we're all trying to figure out? So I think it's inevitable, but I don't think it has to be a bad thing. And, I look forward to being part of the change.
One of the more controversial issues in College Township has been the casino, the
Yes.
mini casino
Yes.
that's slated to come into the Nittany Mall where Macy's
Yes.
used to be. And obviously this decision was made before you were on council, but the township decided to not opt out of,
Right.
of the state's
Correct.
choice to give municipalities whether they want to opt in or out of being open to a casino.
Yes.
What are your thoughts on that? Do you think that was a good decision? Do you think, obviously they cannot turn back on it,
Right.
but there are definitely strong opinions and concerns about the
Yes.
impact.
Yes, so it's a great question. And I'll share just briefly. My very first township meeting was the meeting that was held, and folks from the community came in to try to convince the council at the time, the sitting council, to write a letter to the Gaming Commission against the casino. And I realized in that meeting, I had not been to meetings before, and I realized exactly what you said. Some of these decisions were made in 2017 in relation to zoning changes that were made. So coming back to the big picture, so a change was made in a time and in a place that had long-term impacts that I really don't know that anyone could see at the time. So I think that the casino, currently the decision about the license is with the state Supreme Court, and we're waiting to see what happens. I know that it will have an impact on our community, and I have concerns as a healthcare provider. 40% of gaming revenue comes from addicted gamblers, and that's a real concern. And in my work as a healthcare provider, I see that we struggle now to find mental health services for our community, our residents. So that could potentially have a negative impact on our community. But again, I think that those decisions that were made in 2017 weren't made with the intention to bring in a casino in 2020 or 2021. We didn't necessarily, maybe they didn't forecast that the retail landscape would change, and that a mall that was currently thriving would not thrive in 5 years and make it a potential place for something like a casino. So, I think there's a theme to what I'm saying today, that long-term thinking. You can't predict the future, you can't predict everything about the future, but I think as I do the work that I've been appointed to do and learn more about it, I see in staff, I see in the volunteers, in the authorities, boards and commissions, the residents I talk to, people are very committed to doing the right thing for the right reason, and that means thinking long-term.
Another topic is that the township is a member of the Center Region Council of Governments,
Yes.
and this provides the different member municipalities with different services and different planning options.
Yes.
Do you support that? Do you have any thoughts about
Yes.
what direction you would like to see it go in the future, or any
Yes.
new initiatives?
Yeah, I'm learning about the COG. As I said, I was new to my role in January when I came in. I had no previous municipal government experience. We do share the responsibility and the expense of services, our center, parks and recreation, our library system, several other agencies, and it would be very difficult for each municipality alone to be able to offer the range of services that are available by our partnership in the COG. I think that's important. I think some of the challenges are we're each unique municipalities, and each of us in some way has our own agenda, our own priorities. What I see in the COG, my colleague Rich Francke was chair of the COG, and as he was the general forum last year, and as he was leaving his seat, he said, democracy is messy, and COG democracy can be very messy, but it's democracy. And there are seats at the table for everyone who is an elected representative from their community. And there's respect in the meetings, and there's a willingness to listen and to talk. And so there have been some hard decisions that have been made in the last few years. Economics affect decisions, but I think it's, for at least for where I sit with College Township, it's a good partnership, and I support it. So.
And one of the COG initiatives has been the Climate Action and Adaptation
Yes.
Plan, which the member municipalities
Yes.
signed on to, and has different goals, including reducing greenhouse gas
Yes.
emissions. What are your thoughts on that? Do you support that? Is there anything in
Yes.
particular you think the township needs to be doing?
Yes, I do support it. I do, because it's long-term thinking, and that plan was well designed. It brought in expert opinion scientists from Penn State to help inform the understanding of the climate impact long before there were any decisions made about policy or programming or anything like that. So I think it does speak to the quality of the work that the COG can do. I think we need to be thinking about that. Even as somebody who works in healthcare, I was surprised when I read it to see that we could expect up to 60 more days a year with plus 90-degree days. There are serious health impacts that will affect this area. We may not be facing the same climate change impacts that people who live in coastal communities are affected by, or maybe in the Midwest. We have different climate impacts. I think certainly for me, I didn't appreciate the degree to which we will be affected. And so that's a foundational document that should inform any development decisions we make going forward. So, and I appreciate the science. As a healthcare provider, I very much appreciate the science, because unfortunately, climate change has become a political issue too. So science is critical when you're making good long-term decisions, whether it's healthcare or whether it's development.
And Susan, we have about a minute left. Is there
Yes.
anything else you'd like to say?
Well, I would like to say that I'm very grateful for the opportunity to have been appointed to the seat. I've shared already that I had not done any work previously. I've been a volunteer for the YMCA of Center County for over a decade. I'm very engaged with trying to help the community in various ways. Coming back to my work in healthcare, the more work I do in healthcare, the more I realize to help people be healthy, which I believe is the purpose of healthcare. I understand we have to take care of sick people, but the priority should be on supporting people and preventing illness and sickness in healthcare. And so I'd like to see the work that I can do in our municipal government. I would like to inform that with my work as a healthcare provider. And right now, currently, I have not met other healthcare providers that are working in municipal government. So I bring a unique perspective to the job, and I know that's valuable, and I look forward to sharing that over the next 4 years.
Susan Trainor, thank you so much for coming in to talk with us.
Thank you.
We've been talking with Susan Trainor, a Democratic candidate in the race for College Township Council. I'm Ann Danahy. Thank you for joining us on CNET's 2023 election coverage, and please remember to vote in the election November 7th.